All right, hi everyone. Welcome to part 5. In part 5, we're going to be talking about charts. And in this exercise, we have data from computer sales for 5 months of a year. And we're going to be trying to look at the trends on sales, our desktop computers, laptop computers, tablet devices. How are the sales looking by month over time? We're looking for possible trends in sales. And charts are one way we can visualize that. So if you're giving a presentation or you want to get information to somebody quickly, a chart will get that information across a lot quicker than uh, a little table like this could. You're not going to see the trends at a glance. It'd take you a little bit longer versus seeing a line over time going up, 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 or down, 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 down. And so what we have in this exercise are 3 different charts. The first 2 are going to be computer sales by month of all 3 types of sales. This is a 2D line chart. This is a stacked area chart. And this last one is a pie chart, a 3D pie chart. And this one, we've identified a bit of a trend with the tablet. So this one is not computer sales by month, but rather tablet sales by month. We're looking at how sales are looking on a monthly basis now that we've honed in on what device seems to be selling the most, trending upwards in sales. So we're going to start with highlighting our entire area. And when we do that, inserting a chart is done on the Insert tab of Excel. You click on Insert at the top, and then right here in the middle of the top banner are a series of possible charts you could use. And some charts are going to be more appropriate for data than others. When it sees the data, it's going to try to recommend you specific charts, and it'll narrow it down to a few based on what it sees as far as possible trends or the type of data being presented or the size of the table. And so we get things like a cluster column chart. You can see the bars increase, and it's separated by month with separate long vertical bars on each one. Line chart's the one we're going to be doing first. You've got a stacked column chart, stacked area chart. So this one is going to be the one we're going to be doing second. And then a few other options. A scatter plot is comparing the XY coordinates of maybe multiple things to look for trends. Stacked column where they all add up to 100% of the total sales, and you can see what percentage is dominating each. Bubble chart, not appropriate to this. It's a scatter plot, but also increases the bubble size based on the larger numbers, values there. And then a funnel chart, which is only going to narrow down to one category. So if we're looking at desktop sales, you can see January, the biggest one, but just progressively high to low. It'll stack everything high to low, and then you can see January, February, March, April, May in this case. But if they were if it was different data, it would rearrange the months in that order. But so those are some of the recommended charts. If you click on all charts, you can go through all of the different ones, and you can see what looks appropriate for the type of chart you're making. You've got just a ton of base options, and from there, they are really infinitely customizable. So we're going to and real quick, there's other little shortcuts for specific types. So pie chart, scatter plot, line chart, all the various charts have little shortcuts here as well. So there's several ways you can do it. But for now, we're just going to click on line chart. And then the very first one is a 2D line chart. So we'll start there. And it's important when you are presenting data to have it make sense at a glance without having to need this table. So anything on this table, we want in some way represented on this chart, because probably in the boardroom or in a presentation in front of somebody or in a paper that goes across your manager's desk for them to look at it, or your subordinate's desks for them to look at, whichever direction the information is flowing. You want this to be noticeable at a glance. So if you notice here, it just defaults to chart title, and it really wants you to insert a chart title. So if we click on this, we can highlight the data inside here. I can triple click to highlight everything. I can click in here and hold shift and move my arrow key, or I can try to drag, or I can hit Control or Command A and highlight it. There's a lot of ways you can select all the data, but you want to delete out chart title. We always want to give our chart a title that is meaningful to the data we're representing. So in this case, we're going to call it computer sales by month. You might call it monthly computer sales, or trend of computer sales trends, or electronic device trends, or whatever. You've got a lot of freedom as far as how you title things. You want to be consistent with it, but for the most part, there should be something fairly simple and concise to what you wouldn't want a long sentence in the chart title. So from here, we now have just a basic chart, and it does show desktop. It's got a key here, desktop, so you can see the trend is going down. Laptops, you can see it's trending slightly up, and then tablets are going way up in sales come May here of this year. And so you might look for other causal factors as to why that's the case, but there is a clear trend being displayed here. So the next thing we want to do, if you look at the completed design, what I've done on all three of these is I've got to where the size is the same on all of them. I've added a border to all of them. I've added some sort of color scheme to them that is doesn't clash with any of the other colors. There's probably a better way to do this. This is just kind of a quick colorization of these, but you come up with the color schemes you want. But what we want to do is make sure that we have all three of these fitting on one screen, appropriately sized. So let's make a few changes to it. First, let's increase the height of it just a little bit. Make it a little boxier, and then we want to make sure the data is easily read. So we're going to increase our size of these X and Y titles or labels, and we want to increase the size of our chart title and probably make it bold as well. So if we click on this one time, it'll highlight, and we could go here and change the font size to 20. And then we can also click bold while we're in there. So now that looks a little bit better, a little easier to read. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Just click on anywhere on the numbers, and you should see everything being highlighted. If you accidentally click a double click on it, what you'll see is that it's going to bring up additional options over here. We could ignore that for now. We're going to format this even more, but for now, we're going to just click on it once, and then from the home section, let's go ahead and choose 16 seems to be a little too big. Let's go with 12. That way it has all the values in there. Same thing for here for the months. Let's increase that to 12. And then the labels down here, we can increase this a little bit more. Let's go with 16. So we've got 20, 16, and 12. So everything's 4 apart. You usually want no more than 3 sizes on anything you're trying to present to somebody. So the same thing holds true if you're working in PowerPoint presentation software. You've got a header value, you've got maybe various titles and then bullet points. You don't want to do more than 3 different sizes on one. So 20, 16, and 12, they're all consistently spaced apart. So that seems to be a good starting point. Now for this, what I want you to do is change the design in some way. Now you can do there are some shortcuts on design that are default, but I don't want you to use those. It'll erase the increase in font sizes that we've done already. But just so you know, there are quick ways to change that under chart design here. But again, let's go ahead and ignore that for now. And what we want to do is now that we've changed all of the sizing here, what I want you to do is left click on the chart area, not the entire section, but just to where it highlights only this back area, this front area. And if we right click on it, we can click on format plot area, or if we double click on it, it'll also bring up format plot area here. Additionally, we could click on format at the top of the screen. You can see anytime you're clicking on a chart, if I click off of it, those go away. But once I click on a chart, it does give me the option to format it or do chart design. So there's a lot of ways to get to that as well. So what we want to do though is just change this color here that's right behind our lines. If we click on this area and we change the fill, it's going to change the entirety of it. But I just want to click on this background here. And format plot area is what shows up. And what we want to do is click the fill and add a solid fill of some color background, whatever you think is an appropriate color. And as we change the line colors, you might choose maybe a different one. Maybe you want to make a green line to show the trend going upwards. You probably wouldn't want a green background with a green line, even if it's a different shade of green. So I'm just going to click on this one right here. Actually, I'm going to put a green foreground on it on the line. So let's do a light gold color. And you can see that kind of clashes with the orange. So we're going to probably want to change that. But we're just putting this border here. Now, if we want to do the background of it a different color, we could do a solid fill in the background and change that to a different one. There's not really probably a need for that, but maybe we want to do a gray or just a slight off-white to make it stand out. I don't really like the look of this right now so much, but maybe if I put a slight border inside of it, I might like it a little bit better. That's probably fine. Now let's click on the outside area, and on this one we do want a border. I like putting a border around the charts. It just helps them stand out a little bit more from any data that's behind it in the cell. So we're gonna click on the outside and then click on solid line border, and let's make a thicker border, probably at least 2-point font, a 2-point border size here. You could make it a little bigger if you want. Just be consistent. We're gonna have 3 of them on the same screen, so try to be consistent between your charts on here. And then the last thing I want you to do, so we're going to increase the size of all of our labels. We're going to bold the title. We're going to change the border here. The border in the background, optional if you want to change that or not. And then I want you to change at least one line color. And so I'm going to click on this, this single line. And then from here, I'm going to go to the paint bucket, and the line is selected. And I want to click on, I'm going to click on a green color just to show that that's trending upwards. This is kind of, the color contrast isn't so great with this. So let's try maybe a little bit thicker of a width on it, just to really highlight that, and maybe a different shade of green. Oh, it's not doing the entirety of the line. Click off of it and back on. There we go. All right, here we go. So we'll do a different shade of green, and then not thrilled with it. So play around with yours and see what you can come up with. I'm going to do a red line on this one here to show that it's going down, and I'm going to increase the width a little bit on that one. And in this background, I'm going to change this to blue, but I'd like you to try to find something that works a little bit better. You can see the background doesn't work great with what we've got displaying here. These are getting a little jumbled, so I bet you can come up with something better than that. All right, so change the line color, change the background of the chart area here, the size of all of these labels, and then add a border. Okay. Next one we're going to do is going to be the stacked area chart. So I'm going to highlight the data again, and once again I'm going to click Insert. And I'm going to go to recommended charts just because I know it's there, and then stacked area. Click OK. And we want this side by side with this one, and make sure the height is the same. If you, because Excel uses these grid lines, you can kind of match up where it's at on the grid line to make sure that they're the same height. And then we can get started on formatting this one right away. So on this one, I once again want you to have the consistency with the titles, the sizing and everything. So let's click on the left side here. We'll change this to 12. Let's click on the months here. We're going to change those to 12 as well. Chart title, we're going to change to 20 and bold it, and then change the name of the chart. So again, let's be consistent. Computer sales by month. Click on the key down here at the bottom, and we're going to change that to 16. All right, from here, we want to add a border. So I'm going to click on the kind of the background of everything. And fortunately, it took us right to the paintbrush or paint bucket here. Otherwise, if it took us to here, we would click on this. And then we're going to do a solid line for the background, and that green looks fine, I think, to me. So we'll keep that there. And then just on the border, let's add the same size border. So it's black with a 2-point. But again, find a color scheme that works for you. I really want you guys to experiment with the colors and find your own sense of style with this. I'm not thrilled with this. If I played around with it for a while, I'd probably find something a little bit better. But just examples here. I'm not turning in the work for a grade. All right, and I think this one is nearly good to go. The only thing else I want you to do is these months. I want to show a little bit of sense of style. And in these, I want to change the, I want to put them at a little bit of an angle. And so if you click on these and then you click on size and properties, we can change the direction of this font. We could make it vertical, but you know, we could rotate it all however we want. But we can also do a custom angle. We don't have to do full vertical or horizontal. We can just click on the up arrow next to custom angle or type in a number, and then you put a little bit of a tilt to it. So it just adds a little bit of panache to our chart by having them at this angle. We could do the same thing here if we wanted to. No need to do it on both of them, but if you want to be consistent, we could do that with both of them. All right, finally, we're gonna do one last chart, but on this one, I'm not gonna do everything like I just did with you. Instead, I'm gonna just show you what I want the product to look like. And on this one, I will start by setting up the tablet for you. So if you are on a Windows computer, you'll hold Control. If you're on a Mac computer, you'll hold Command. But if you highlight the first set of the data and then hold Control and then click on the second set, we want to just do the months and tablets on this one. We're going to look at tablet sales by month for this last one, just so we can kind of drill down into that to show, oh, well, we've identified a trend on tablets. Let's show, well, what months are we selling the most of, et cetera. And so we're just going to select those two, not everything. And from there, you can release the Control or Command button, hit Insert, and we're going to do a pie chart. And I want you to do a 3D pie chart. So let's drag this over a little bit. Again, let's be consistent as we can with spacing and sizing with our other charts. We know that we're going to have a chart title changed. And this one, it's not computer sales by month. So make sure you change that to tablet sales by month. And then make the appropriate changes to the title, make it bold, make it the same consistency. I want you to change the border like we've done on both the other ones. Again, make it consistent. I want you to change the background on this. And then from there, you can see we're going to do a couple more things with it. One, we're going to explode out the pie chart. So I want you to, if you click on this, you can double click on it and bring up options. Well, I want you to explode those out. So from here, I think you might be able to figure out how the explosion might work. Maybe if you look for the word explosion on the screen, and just separate them a little bit. And then I want you to try to figure out, if you look, the largest piece is right here on the left side, but maybe we could change the angle of that somehow. Maybe look for the word angle right now. Change the angle of that somehow so that the largest piece is on the right side instead. So from the pie chart, I want you to explode out the pie, and I want you to flip them to the other side. Maybe not all the way, 90 degree. Maybe have the larger side be rotated a little bit to the top, just to really stand out that size. And then we definitely want to, on a pie chart, this is going to be bigger like the rest of them have been. This is going to be bigger like the rest of them have been, but we definitely want to label our data points. And if you're on a Windows PC, for some reason, the versions of Excel are different on Windows and Mac, where Windows gives you this chart element shortcut, but Mac OS does not. For that, you'll have to go to chart design, and then there'll be a plus button in the top left that says add chart element. And what we want to do is we want to definitely have data labels on here. And you can see the data labels by default are just a really thin black font, and it's hard to read. So if you look, what I've done is I've made those data labels white, and I've also added in, I've changed them to show not the amount, but what percent of the pie that month sales were, and the month that it relates. So it has a key here, but also it says May here. So if you click on these, as always, if you double click, it's going to bring up options. And from here on those label options, I'd like you to find a way to make them more visible than this thin black font that we have, because it's really hard to read that. Add the month, and then you can either keep it the number, but I'd really like to see you change it to a percentage showing instead, and just make sure everything's visible. So we've exploded out, change the data labels to be the month and ideally the percentage. Flip it from left to right. So the May is on the right side instead of the left side. And then make sure you've done with what you've done with the other ones. Add a border, change the title, increase the size of it, and then be consistent with your sizing. You should have 3 charts lined up one after the other, all on the one worksheet for part 5 here. All right, if you have any questions about these charts, please let me know, and we will see you all in part number 6.